We have been involved in these issues regarding sexual harassment since 1984. This is part of our campaign against all kinds of a range of issues related to violence against women and for women's rights as human rights. As many of us are also part of university, we have been part of the movement that generated in the MS University of Baroda to create a mechanism to deal with the cases of sexual harassment on that campus. I would share this experience. It's like an unending story to ask for a proper mechanism since 1996. That is a year before Vishakha judgment. Vishakha judgment came in 1997. In 1996, some cases of sexual harassment were published in the newspaper, in the local newspaper, and they were instantly communalized by the local newspaper as a conspiracy of Muslim boys to lure Hindu girls and convert them. And as they are getting like fund from Arab country, and all this vicious campaign was carried forward by the local media. Instantly, as a women's organization, we oppose this kind of communalization of the women's issue, and at the same time, we ask for a mechanism on the campus to deal with the cases of sexual harassment. Along with Women's Studies Research Center in the MS University, few organizations, women's organization of Baroda, we had lot of debate and discussion. How can we go about it, and how do we prevent this kind of communalization while addressing the actual issue of sexual harassment? Fortunately, we had a very supportive Vice Chancellor at that time, Mrs. Padma Ramchandran, and she enabled consultations on this issue at a wider level within the university. And several consultations were taken place to think about what kind of mechanism, informal structure we should create in the university so that women can come and talk about all these issues. In that process, University Forum for Women was initiated as a group of concerned members of MS University of Baroda committed to fostering of gender-sensitive and women-friendly environment on the university campus, and with the objective to provide a platform for articulating problems of women students, faculty and administrative staff on MS University campus. And we thought that problems can be related to sexual harassment as well as discrimination in the rules, regulations and practices of the university. So we were thinking in terms of gender justice on the campus, not only sexual harassment, but a larger issue of gender equality on the campus. By the time we were talking and discussing about how it would function, and we in fact started doing some kind of gender audit of the university, what kind of facilities are available for students, for teachers, women. And during that time, in August 1997, this famous Vishakha judgment came, and that gave a kind of fillip to our efforts that we had started a year back. And once again, with the strength of this judgment, we approached the Vice Chancellor, and they formed, in the syndicate meeting, they passed the resolution that they will form a committee to formulate a guideline to formulate a committee against sexual harassment. And a committee was formed like that. There are 4 members. I mean, it was because the movement was strong at that time. The convener of that guidelines committee was convener of the University Forum for Women, Professor Amita Verma. And after long deliberation, discussing the whole judgment, looking at the various policies of other universities, JNU, Delhi University, Mumbai University, the committee prepared a very good comprehensive guideline to establish a mechanism in the MS University and presented before the Vice Chancellor. Again, it went to the syndicate. And the syndicate rejected the guideline. What exactly was the reason? Nobody said, but they said that the guidelines suggested by the committee were pro-women and that is why they were anti-men. So that was the argument that came to us. In fact, what the committee said was exactly what was given in the Vishakha guidelines and several other universities had already implemented. But this was the reaction of the syndicate. Of course, the forum and the convener of the guidelines committee objected to this kind of situation, and we strongly said that this is what is an indication of the power structure within university which prefers to ignore and trivialize the issue rather than take a proactive stand on making the university a safer space for women. And this was the beginning of subverting the spirit of Vishakha judgment on the campus of MS University, and it continued till today in the MS University of Baroda. A new committee to suggest a guideline to set up a committee was institutionalized by the syndicate. Of course, all the members were selected carefully so that they don't have pro-women stance, and in fact even that guideline was not passed by the syndicate. And till 2008, just from 1996 to 2008, there were no committee on the campus of MS University. Not that there were no cases. I mean, one after another things came out and they were dealt with very ad hoc way. A major case that I would like to share with you happened in 1999. That was immediately after this guidelines was rejected. And that was a case of a PhD student harassed by her guide, and she sent a written complaint to the Vice Chancellor. The Vice Chancellor, as there was, I mean, by that time the Vice Chancellor which was supporting was, her term was over, and we had another Vice Chancellor which was not at all, who was not at all supporting. A ad hoc committee was set up, violating all the guidelines given in the Vishakha guidelines. There was no third party. There was no person who is familiar with the issue of sexual harassment. A three-women committee was set up. The University Forum for Women supported the victim, and the result of this inquiry committee was obvious as expected, that they clearly said that the complaint is baseless. The wordings were absolutely, you can say, objectionable. What they said? For 3 years, for one reason or other, the complainant appears to have kept mum in spite of her alleged sexual harassment from 1995 to March 1999. The lapse is too glaring and revolts against herself. Then they say that there was a long silence. Not only that there was a long silence, but there was no one who corroborated her complaint, and that is why her complaint has exploded. So there was no corroboration, so it has exploded the balloon of her allegation without any support from any other quarters. That was very expected, but not up to such an extent that they have not only said that there is no proof, but they said that the balloon of allegation has exploded. In fact, they admitted that there was a lapse in not providing her scholarship. For 3 years, her scholarship from the university was stopped, and they noted that point, that yes, that was an administrative lapse on the part of the authority and the guide without any formal procedure, just verbally stopping her scholarship. But as far as the complaint of sexual harassment is concerned, they said there is nothing. And this report, we were all agitated, the forum were agitated, and we sent this report, circulated this report to the women's organizations across the country and requested them to write letters to the Vice Chancellor of MS University, the National Commission for Women, the Chief Justice of India, and to the Justice Sujata Manohar to take some steps. These letters were converted by the Supreme Court as petitions, which is came to known as Medha Kotwal case, because one of the person who wrote to the Supreme Court was Medha Kotwal from Alochana. And in course of this case in the Supreme Court, several clarifications and several supporting orders were given by the Supreme Court over the period of time in 2004-2006 to actually implement Vishakha. I will not go into the detail of those judgments, but it was in this case the Solicitor General made a statement that the government was serious in introducing a law to deal with sexual harassment at workplace. The petition is still pending. That is at the national level. When the Supreme Court admitted that petition, they expanded the scope of this petition and they say that we are not going to look at one university, we will look into the implementation of Vishakha by all the central and state government and union territories. So all of them were made party to this case. The reply came years after years. It kept on dragging. All these positive orders came in between. But what happened at MSU? Nothing on the MSU campus, because there was no direction was given in this petition to the MSU, and as I told you, till 2008 July, there was no committee on MSU. It took one gruesome incident of a gang rape of a girl in Patan, North Gujarat, PTC College, to have that committee in MSU and many other places of Gujarat. A Dalit girl who was studying in the first year of the PTC, 2-year course for primary teachers training. She was raped by 6 of her teachers, as many as 14 times over a period of 6 months in 2007. All these accused were very influential and connected with influential politicians. There was only one single woman teacher in that entire all-women college. And when she brought these issues to the light of the authorities and the education department, nothing happened. Only when it became too much and the victim became unconscious during a medical checkup, all the girls and her parents, they protested and they assaulted the accused. And at that point of time, it came to the light. And then there was uproar all over the state against this issue. And we, Sahiyar as a women's organization, took up this challenge to once again bring back Vishakha guideline to the focus. And we said that we support the victim, we want justice for her, but we also want Vishakha guidelines to be implemented in all the educational institutions of Gujarat, schools, colleges, ashram sala, hostels, everywhere. And that campaign took up once again at Baroda. There were several public demonstrations, signature campaigns, 1500 people signing petition to the Vice Chancellor, and after all that, we were given a promise that there will be a mechanism in MS University. Once again, the Vice Chancellor, his term was over, he changed. Nothing happened. New Vice Chancellor, we approached him again and he installed a committee. What kind of committee? The chairperson of the committee was Vice Chancellor, a man. All the members, all the dean, registrar, all of them were member of the committee. There was no third party. Once again, we approached the Vice Chancellor, put up a pressure, lot of pressure on him. And then, after 2-3 months of pressure, there were some changes in this committee. Now, the president of the committee is still, let me tell you. President is still Vice Chancellor, a man, but there is a chairperson who is a woman. Who are the other members of this committee? Vice Chancellor, President, ex officio, Registrar, ex officio, Dean Faculty of Law ex officio. Then there are syndicate members, 4 syndicate members. 2 of them should be women. 2 deans, 1 of them should be a woman. Representation from student union, representation from staff, 1 should be a woman. All recommended by Vice Chancellor. All these members should be recommended by the Vice Chancellor. And this is how there are 20 members on this committee, but not a single temporary staff, not a single PhD scholar, no one from hostels. So we clearly mention in our demand and say that this is nothing but the turning the Vishaka judgment upside down, because what happens in the campus is the sexual harassment is result of the power structure on the campus, and unless you have a third party which have an experience to deal with this issue, which is neutral, you cannot deal with this kind of issue. And looking at the power structure, if you have all dean and senate member and syndicate member, nobody is going to come to complain. The procedure to make complaint, there is a complaint box in the university office. You can go and give your complaint, put your complaint on that drop box, and once in a week they will open it and pass it on to the chairperson of the committee. So after a long struggle, this is the situation when we were very clear in our demand that what we want is representation from each and every strata of the university. This committee is completely top heavy with administrators and academic heads of the institutions. Now, as and when the cases come, they are dealt with in a very ad hoc manner, and nobody knows what is happening. As it happened in the first case in 1999, there is very few chance that a girl will get justice. There is, most of the people, we have conducted a survey on the NS University campus with teachers and students, and 90% of them are not aware that there is such committee. Wow. So there is no question that anybody would go and complain. We were talking about preventive steps. There is no awareness program or preventive steps or put up the name of them, the committee members on the notice board, nothing. In fact, there was a very clear trick to subvert the whole thing. This committee is, 20-member committee is at the university level. At faculty level, they said that there should be a committee. There was a committee which is known as Grievance, Redressal and Vigilance Committee. And the reference of this committee, the role of this committee was to address to the grievances of all the students regarding admission, hostel, examination, election, sports and any other. And they said that this grievance redressal committee of students will also function as Women's Development Committee at faculty level. Once again they said that there is no point in turning this admission and sports and election committee. They are very important for students, but they have a very different role to play. Whereas the committee against sexual harassment or for prevention of sexual harassment have a very different role to play. But still we are fighting on these issues. It is not yet heard by the authorities. Now we have one new Vice Chancellor and we are going to take chance again with him to have something. But what is the lesson? Ultimately, what happens that if there is a struggle, they will listen to you for a while. Once it is slowed down, nobody is going to listen, whether there is mechanism or not, a structure or not. Nothing is helping unless there are few people who will take up the issue and keep on continue to fight. We are making a suggestion to the university now, like anti-ragging campaign. Right or wrong, at least everyone knows that there is something against ragging. There are notice boards and everything it is written. Even in admission form, in many places they have to write that they will not indulge into ragging and things like that. it's a loud thinking to discuss before all of you. Can we demand some such kind of thing? At least that people know that there is such committee where they are. They don't just remain on paper. How they will function, whether they will function in a neutral way, they will, and in the true spirit of the Vishakha judgment and all the subsequent details discussion or not is secondary question and much more complicated. But at least to start with, everyone, all students, teachers, employers, they know that there is something against sexual harassment, and if there something happens, they can go and complain. So that is one thing. I would like to share briefly in 1 or 2 minutes about schools. On the one hand, we were asking for a committee in MS University. At the same time, we pressurized the government to have something in all educational institutions, including schools and ashram shalas. And the Gujarat government, who is very clever in putting a packet of everything, they sent a circular. The education department sent a circular to all the schools that in 15 days they must have a committee. Who will be on the committee? 3 teachers. And if there are no three female teachers, if there are no 3 female teachers in the school, 3 parents. Oh. So having a committee without actually having anything, because 3 teachers in a school, maybe there will be Vidya Sahayak perhaps. Most of the women are Vidya Sahayak, and if something happens by permanent teacher or principal, or I mean they have nothing, there is no standing. And just the circulars were sent. Actually, no committees were happened. We had a small survey of schools, and the actual committees were not institutionalized. Only in few places where we could pressurize schools, not convince the schools authorities, they put up some committees somewhere. But in reality, that has not happened. This reflects the entire attitude of the state government. In 2008, again we had a RTI to know that what the state government, what happens within the department of state government. And again, about 80 departments replied. Out of that, hardly 10 had a committee. 35, they said that we are in process of having the committee because of RTI. And wherever there's a committee, when we ask, ring up those members, they say that we don't know we are on this committee. So this is the commitment of the state government. It is reflected in each and every educational institutions of the Gujarat. In Gujarat University and in the colleges of Gujarat University, there are women's development cells, and in few places where the teachers or the convener of the cell are vigilant and enthusiastic, they are functioning up to certain extent, but not in many other educational, most other educational institutions of Gujarat.